I'm Sebaa Orabi. I'm head of interior design in SSH. I've been in SSH for the past 12 years. I'm a very passionate interior designer. I love what I'm doing. I love that architecture is a very collaborative process. And what I've done in actually helping the people around me, we've built a team of 90% women, which was an amazing achievement in a very big corporate environment, having that very intimate, small studio look and feel. The intimacy of a family growing all together have really benefited the business.
سبا نجحت نجاح تام في هالموضوع انه خلت الانتيريور ديزاين مهم في SSH، واعتقد قاعد يوصل رسائل حلوه اليوم. تدري البيرسونال اكسبيرينس بين الشخص والمبنى ياتي من الانتيريور ديزاين. انا اعتقد يمكن سبا كانت بهالبروفايل، عندها طموح، ذكيه، she wants to do something, she wants to leave a mark، فاكيد يحتسب لها الهدف هذا والانجاز.
In the beginning. شلون دخلتي في مجال التصميم وشنو كانت البداية فيها؟
My start really was when I decided to go to the take my bachelor degree. So أنا دخلت جامعة دمشق قسم العمارة الداخلية. Although my parents wanted me more into scientific fields because كنت علمي جايبة 95%, so they didn't want me to do interior design. However, I thought that this is what I love to do. And this is where it starts, to listen to yourself. Not necessarily, even at young age, not necessarily your parents or whoever is mentoring you is actually, for sure that you have the best intention. However, you need to also to listen to yourself. طبعاً, of course, I started this bachelor with my family. They were in Saudi Arabia. I'm born and raised in Saudi Arabia. And my parents still there. So my father works in construction. So we have that in the family. In terms of construction, materiality, like I've been surrounded with some kind of environment. Also, my mother is very Palestinian, like we are very Palestinians. Like your sole purpose as a kid to eat zayt و za'atar and study. You're not allowed to do anything else. So we have that, mentality, العلم سلاح, all of this, like my mom also has a dual bachelor degree in geography and in Arabic literature. So and she was telling me the story, I was pregnant with you when I had my second bachelor, and I'm like the fourth kid, so imagine. And then I went to my bachelor degree. I was pregnant at the last year, graduation year. And that was one of the one of the obstacles that really started my careers. And I thought it was an obstacle at that time because architecture is all about longevity, long hour, endurance, long life, long everything. You need to be really in sync with what you're doing to be a good architect. So I graduated. كانت my daughter عمرها 2 weeks, actually. And I graduated second on my class, which gave me a lot of, fulfillment. I had another girl at that time, and then I focused on raising the kids. فضليت تقريباً ل 2009, 2010, I'm not working. What I did at that time is took a lot of courses online while I'm raising my kids. So everything you can think of related to architecture, interior design, even graphic design. To the extent I've took video game modeling, you know what I mean? So it's nice to you as a designer to also توسع الspectrum تبع design, look at different type of designs and how do they all relate together. Because at the end, this is what you're producing, end product. You're not only producing architecture or only producing graphic design. You're producing a design theme or a philosophy that you want to carry on all through. So after that, in 2010, I joined SSH as an interior designer, and not as a senior, actually, even interior designer, just a regular interior designer. But I was very well known in hard work. That's how it started. I'm the person that sits on the desk with the headphones on, don't move for 8, 9, 10 hours working, you know? And also we do a lot of sleepovers in the office at that time, okay? So for you to understand how this profession needs a lot of dedication.
So في وقت اللي مثل ما قلتي بالبداية إنه ممكن كان it was a curricular to be pregnant before you actually graduate. بس ما خليتي هذا تكون challenge أو عائق بالنسبة لك وكملتي.
بالعكس.
وبعدين حتى لما طلعتي وخصصتي وقت للأولاد ما قلتي إنه لا أنا شلون برجع، لا أنا راح أرجع لازم أكون جاهزة إني راح أرجع.
Exactly. يعني this profession is also related a lot to growth. So if you ask me what's my secret, I'm in constant growth. I can't let myself let go without growing somehow. Whether I'm growing within the project itself, yani for me, every project is an opportunity to work on research and development, for example. Yani one of the projects we had on Corona was Space Commission headquarters in Saudi Arabia, which is yet to be revealed. It's one of my favorite projects. And this amazing project like really opened a lot for us as a designer to look into space, to look into really research and development that is related to our industry. Because when you provide a space, it's not necessarily only the architecture or the materiality, it's how you want that space to function. Especially if it's a space headquarters, how are you going to reinvent the corporate look in a creative environment that is related to the Space Commission of Saudi Arabia. So every project is a challenge and pushes you to actually do your own due diligence on the project. And that, of course, helps you grow. And because I'm in a big corporate environment, I was also exposed to a lot of consultants from all around the world, and specialty consultants, lighting, acoustics, and technical development, of course, is a key in architecture. Like you cannot only focus on marketing yourself with good materials and everything, no. So basically, each project is an opportunity. So that's how you look at it. I'm not only doing my 8 to 5 job, I'm also looking at how opportunities for growth. And luckily, I had a lot of support in SSH, especially with the owners of SSH, as I told you, Amran Hayat, Saadun Isa. They were very supportive. But again, for you as a woman, nobody will support you unless you first start to carve your own way through success and prove that you're serious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're also adaptable, because growth is constant. You know, change is constant.
You mentioned that when you got your double masters, that was a turnaround point in your life.
Yes, correct.
Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah. Basically, in 2013, I was still interior designer in SSH, and the department was actually 3 people, and I had a mentor at that time, interior design director. His name is Kifah Laham. He's Lebanese. He was working on Presidential Palace of Abu Dhabi. I've learned a lot of managerial skills from him, and to be honest, in this environment, you need to focus on both managerial and technical. Like you cannot be managerially successful without knowing your stuff and being technically competent. And that's how it started. Like I got his full support, and I went on the masters while I was with SSH. So it was a part-time program where I actually have to travel back and forth between Spain and London, IE University in London, and it's a collaboration with Royal College of Art in London, and IE, in Spain. The master's is Masters in Architecture Management and in Design. What I love about this master's for you as a designer, it was really bridging the gap between business and real world and the design thinking, and really there is a gap there. You know, sometimes designers get really into their thoughts, they cannot make money out of that, out of that talent. So this master really teaches you, or at least puts you on the path to understand what are your opportunities as an architect. Are you going to go, like, for example, opening a marketing architecture company? You can't do that if that is your strength, for example. If I'm more design-oriented, no, I would go into, for example, creating objects, be in sync with the market, and creating interior design. So that master's was really a turning point for me. I graduated with honorable mention, and I went back to SSH, and by that time, the head of interior left the company. So we were like 2-3 people, that's it. And then I went there, I was like, you know what, this is my business plan. Like, I did not wait somebody to say, okay, here you go. You worked hard, bravo, you are going to be the leader. It doesn't happen. I went there and I showed them the business plan on how we can grow the interior design department and how can we reinvent the SSH brand in terms of look and feel. Of course, I had the support of another director at that time, his name is Ray Phillips. He supported me a lot. And he had that design thinking and design environment thinking within SSH. So he said, okay, go ahead, but we will not make you head of interior design until you prove yourself. Okay? So I was doing the head of interior design obligation A to Z plus running projects for a year without being promoted to prove yourself. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case if you're a man, for example, okay? However, it's an opportunity. Yani, for you, it's every opportunity is a challenge, you know, and for you, you have to grab it. Yani, you need to understand what opportunity is also worth grabbing. So it worked really well, and we started this design environment within SSH. That's in around 2013, 2014. And we grew from 300 employees to 1,500 at the moment. And we are from the few first offices that we started cloud-based kind of collaboration because we expanded a lot. So the whole working online thing is not new to us. We've been doing it since 2013. And that was a changing point in my career.
And then you headed the department, and you made sure that the majority of your team are women.
To be honest, when I headed this department, I kind of chose a few, even from architecture department, to be within the interior design department. I was at that time, honestly, not focusing, is it man or woman? I was focusing who's most competent as a human being. And that's who I like to work with. I like to work with smart, competent people, people who want to grow. Like, if you don't want to grow, there is no room in the team, okay? Because interior design is all about constant change. So what happened, I grabbed few people. I had few people, even my colleagues, as interior designers, and we started the interior design department. And it just happened to be, it evolved to be around 80-90% women. If that doesn't tell you a pattern, but a pattern means that I am more comfortable working with women. Although, again, the criteria is competency, not gender.
But also when women started to feel appreciated, they stuck around, they did not leave.
Sure, of course. Like, أنا كان عجيني دعم من المانجمنت، ما وقفت هيدا الدعم عندي. I started إني أدعم اللي حوالي كمان. So, for example, interior designers or an architect, technical architect became now senior head of technical. So I managed to actually give them a lot of responsibilities as well. And they were up to it. So it worked nicely, and we created this mini family in SSH. So we worked together since 2010. Till now, I have few ladies, Lydia Ibrahim, Lydia Miskit, Prashanta. Few ladies are صراحة يعني chapeau يعني for their dedication, for their seriousness, for their ability to grow is just phenomenal.
One of the main projects, maybe the first big project اللي اشتغلتي عليه was مركز جابر الأحمد الثقافي.
It wasn't one of the big projects, actually, يعني not the first. I've worked on Oman Convention Center as well, and it's a huge project with a lot of theaters and cultural spaces. So that technically prepped me more to work into the Jack and Ask and Salam Palace. The team of Salam Palace and all Diwan Emiri projects was a very highly skilled team. Like we have people from London, we have people in here, Dubai, UAE. So we have from all around the world. We managed to capture the talent and create that, I told you, cloud-based platform. And a lot of them actually came here, and we used to travel to London to make it work. I was heading the interior design since then, till this day, in SSH. Also, working with Diwan Amiri and the women in Diwan Amiri was also very beautiful. Like the director of the whole projects, Engineer Niaz Khaja. Like she's an honor to work with. She's extremely smart, extremely fearless in the pursuit of her work. So also all of that, you get that energy, you know, so you want to work more in the project. When you get this female energy in the project, it's really helpful.
How would you describe the female energy in the design landscape in the region?
Listen, أنا من الناس اللي ما بفرق بالجندر. يعني I support women, of course. I'm more comfortable with women. I'm awed when women actually achieve and work on themselves, like inspires me every day. Even the people who work on themselves on social media, I make sure I follow them because that's your daily reminder. But in terms of gender, أنا to me, men and women اللي بيميزون عن بعض competency and the ability to communicate. And, you know,
I think my question comes من جانب إن women are asked to do more, مثل ما قلتي, to prove themselves.
yeah.
يمكن بالcreative industry that's even more so لأن it's demanding. The hours are demanding.
Yes.
The competition is strong يعني creativity. اللي تطري في بالي يعني off the top of my head يمكن very cliché بس حديد. She was one of the people that was constantly told your designs won't work.
Yeah.
And she proved that they would work.
Yeah.
So the question comes back to, had this been Ahmed Hadid, would someone have said no, it won't work?
Very good question. To be honest, again, I go back to competency. If at that time Zaha Hadid drew her what she drew, and she's one of my idols, Zaha Hadid, and knew technically how she's gonna construct it, it would have been different. You know what I mean? That's why when I say you have to be technically competent to start, even when you want to start design, you cannot start designing out of nowhere. It has to respond to certain client needs, to a program, to a site condition, to many, many social demands. It's all about the people, so each project is different. So what I'm trying to say, women بيميزون عن الman is I would not go in terms of constructability, but I would say women in interior design, their touches are different. That's what I've been seeing. They're more synced in terms of color and how they're more empathetic as human beings. And that's one of the things also I want to talk about, like empathy and interior design, which is extremely important. So I would say the more empathetic you are, the more you understand what this project is intended to do for the people, the more successful you are.
بهالوقت ممكن يكون دور المرشد or mentor.
Correct.
شيء جدا مهم.
Correct.
منو كان هالشخص لك؟
كان عندي كذا mentor within SSH. As I told you the names, كان عندي عمران حياة, سعدون العيسى, Ray Phillips, Simon Dennison, all of them within SSH. They were mentors to me, I would say, at some point or another, each one differently. So I was supported by men, actually, at the beginning of my career. And but I was the one who put myself there to take that position. And that's where I'm telling you, it's the attitude. As a woman, maybe you need to be a little bit more aggressive to know how to carve your way into success.
When today you have joined a group of other great women who are mentoring other women.
Correct.
Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah. So I got a call from this beautiful lady, Basma Al-Qassar, and she was telling me about this women mentorship forum, and it's honestly a very exciting forum. What I love about it, it's intended exactly to people like me, like people with technical capabilities, with managerial leadership capabilities within the private sector. So we did spare from our time, all of us, And we did manage to mentor young talents, Kuwaiti talents and young girls. Even during Corona, I was mentoring engineer Dalal Sahaf. She's a young talent, upcoming, watch out Kuwait. And it was really nourishing because in giving, there's a certain satisfaction. You actually keep questioning your thoughts every time you're mentoring. You know, sometimes priorities, when you mentor somebody or advise somebody, the priorities in your head become more aligned. So it was a great experience with the Women Forum.
Do you also make sure that those young women get soft skills, not just the hard skills that are necessary for this job?
Sure.
Like what?
Like, for example, I'm not going to say your schedule, your time, have to be more منضبطة بعملك. No, I want them to focus on what do they like to do the most, to understand this is the soul, the starting point. What do you like to do the most? What puts your soul on fire? So you keep searching till you find that, because this is where your success, okay? You could be an architect, but for example, you don't like to do mechanical coordination and technical. You like to do something that is a little bit more artsy. So maybe you can do something that is related to art architecture or science with architecture, exploring sustainability options. So there are a lot of options for women architects. My advice for all young females is really to put themselves in a situation where they understand themselves better and see what really sets their soul on fire.
So challenge themselves.
Yeah.
Basically push themselves to grow that resilience.
And put themselves in an environment that will grow that resilience. Yani, I'm not against at all. And I've seen many successful stories where somebody like graduates and directly open their office. I'm not against that at all. بالعكس, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But I think gaining that technical experience, having technical mentor, not only a mentor in life or mentor in managerial or leadership, but technical mentor is also as important as the soft skills, especially in our profession. Because you could be the most well-spoken person, but you don't know your stuff. There's no substance to what you're saying. And people in our profession, they speak the technical language. That's our language. The more technical you are, or you understand where things come from, how things are put together nicely, then you have a better chance in making it and succeeding.
شنو learning lessons that you do not forget?
Like if I want to take unsuccessful stories, I would focus on projects that were not executed well, for example, from a construction point of view. Like, it breaks my heart every time I see a design that looks very different than the final product. And it's because of many reasons. People sometimes think that, oh, it's a bad design, it's a good design, but there's in a project, if it's a huge project with billions in stake, design is one of the elements. It's how the projects come in, the procurement strategies and things like that. So I think one of the things that I learned from the most are unsuccessful projects that are constructed. So it made me look into, okay, now I need to look at all the details around this. I need to not use this material again, ever, for example. So that is type of the thing I would call like a failure.
Okay, we know الحين Sebaa as the manager, as the mentor, what she teaches the women around her. But Sebaa as a mother, what does she teach her daughters?
I teach my daughters always to listen to themselves. And even sometimes when they ask me to do stuff for them is related to school or anything, I would let them and you know what, scratch your head. You need to do your own research and development. So again, I focus on the technical part, like any Palestinian woman. But I also, especially with this, they're here in Kuwait, so I want them to be exposed more to the outside world. So that element, I think, is very important at young age. To, again, look for themselves. Look what they want, really. And that does not come from, if you tell 18 years old, look into yourself. She's like, what am I supposed to look? No, exposing yourself to different experiences make you know yourself better. And that's what I want my kids to learn.
Does the work of other architects or interior designers inspire you?
Yes, a lot. I mean, I look up to Neri Oxman. She's an architect, inventor. She founded Material Ecology and Sustainability Department in MIT. And what I love about her is her ability to combine architecture with science, with biology, to create a very sustainable environment. And I think this is where the future is.
That's great. Thank you for being here, Sebaa.
Thank you,
I learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
بس لا يعني I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
It shows. وإحنا we're here to highlight the work that you do because it deserves to be highlighted.
Thank you so much.
So it's very greatly appreciated that
Thank you.
One, you are doing the work that you're doing and you are trying to help other women to reach those points.
Akid. Thank you so much and thank you for having me.